In a world filled with screens and distractions, we invite you to reconnect with the natural world around you. Welcome to Nature Bound, a podcast dedicated to unpacking the intrinsic bond between humans and nature. We'll uncover the benefits of spending time outdoors, including how a nature-centric lifestyle can improve your mental health, elevate your leadership skills, and unleash your creativity. And now here's your host, outdoor enthusiast, and renowned author of The 7 Principles of the Magic Rock, Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Nature Bound. We're going to dig into some concepts today around how creativity can be a portal into vitality, and some processes by which you can stair step your way into being creative, even if you don't think that you are. My guest today is Dr. Fred Moss, and he is a renowned mental health advocate, keynote speaker, and psychiatrist with a passion for helping people find their authentic selves. As the founder of the Welcome to Humanity movement and True Voice Mastermind, Dr. Fred's work is centered on the power of communication to heal and connect people. He is the author of Creative 8, Healing Through Creativity and Self-Expression. And Dr. Fred, I am really happy to have you on the show to talk about how we can be creative and how we can lever some time in nature to be more fully the human that we were incarnated to be.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Emmanuel. I'm really looking forward to our conversation as well. And yes, creativity is very central to all of our lives. You know, just because one thinks they're not creative, that's more a throwback from getting that red X on our paper in art class when we were, in second grade. And we started learning that somehow we weren't doing creativity correctly. But truth be told, the fact that we're all here right now and blinking and breathing and our hearts are beating every single second is an act of massive creativity, ultimately, because we have billions of things to choose from, paying attention to or doing. And we have to actually design our life very creatively to take on what's ever next and to speak to or listen to or be with whatever we have found ourselves surrounded by. So we start realizing that there's no such thing as somebody who is alive and not creative. It is a requirement to be alive and to second by second to be creative. And what's the power of creativity? Well, the power of creativity is that it expands beyond the conventional form of communication that we normally have. This idea that what we're doing right now, where I'm speaking and your ears are listening, and then you're processing what I say and then volleying back some attempt to interchange and interact with me, is a typical conventional form of communication. But what I have found is that, and I'm not a special researcher here. I think we all know this. The idea is that when we are actually involved with the visual or performing arts, separate from the creativity that just comes from everyday living, we start realizing that our discomfort or our imbalance or our misalignment or our unpleasantness with life, which happens fairly frequently during the day by default, gets to disappear or gets to be diminished in such a way that we are left free from that discomfort, even if what we're expressing through our art or our music or our singing or our dancing or our journaling or gardening or, cooking or, cooking, writing, and gardening. Art, music, dancing, singing, drama, cooking, writing, and gardening are the 8. And so when we start looking at the Creative 8, and there's a few others that have made it to the Creative 8, so it's now like the Creative 11, we start realizing that creativity is our release point. That's the point where we can actually walk away from the discomfort of life and learn a different way to look at the same data that can bring some form of joy and pleasure to our world, even if moments before it wasn't, and even if our expression is about the misery. So that's one thing I think that you're pointing to is the amazing power of creativity to not only express ourselves and be heard, it's also to hear the world around us and to interchange effectively and gracefully in an expanded way beyond the conventional communication track that most of us use, which is simply staying still, speaking, hearing, processing, re-speaking, hearing, processing, which has its own inherent limitations. So yes, creativity is a terrific route towards, getting more well-rounded, tapping into our authentic, genuine core self, and then delivering with harmonic resonance in our efforts to connect and be with other people through conversation and communication.
And the work that you're doing, how are you guiding people to just get started? What's the process?
Yeah. So people come to me as a psychiatrist. People have been coming to me. I've been a psychiatrist for 37 years. So people have been coming to me thinking that there's something wrong with them. People don't come to a psychiatrist to find out if there's something wrong with them. They come to find out that there's something.
What is wrong?
They come to find out what is wrong. It's already confirmed in their view that there's something wrong with them, but that's how they walk into my office. So I first kind of loosen the jar and have people get fairly soon on that maybe there's nothing inherently wrong with being upset, out of balance, or feeling in some form of disarray or confusion or chaos or discomfort with life, that might not mean that there's something wrong with them. And then when I start talking like that, I start letting people know that a diagnosis in and of themselves, which by the way, is a forced outcome every single time that one attends a psychiatric meeting, they get a diagnosis by definition. You walk away from every psychiatric meeting with a diagnosis by definition, as long as there is a third party paying any of that. That's a requirement on the CPT code inside the billing form, is that you walk away with a true and honest psychiatric diagnosis. So what I let people know is that diagnosis in and of itself might have its own traumatic underpinnings. And I let people really see that there might be better ways to find themselves into balance, into purpose, into vision, into steadiness, into security by taking on different forms of what that, different practices or different tools or different exercises or strategies. And there's something called the Moss method, which actually encapsulates both the nature aspect of what you're talking about, there's a whole section on that, and the creative aspect of it. It includes 18 other things, including like meditation and gratitude and sleep hygiene and spirituality and service and nutrition and hydration and, and like something I call introduction to morning sky, which like your introduction suggests, getting out in the morning and getting some sunlight and seeing the vast infinite nature of life and realizing at that moment that life does not take place inside my head, and it doesn't really take place inside these four walls. There's this thing called a planet here, or this thing called nature here, that when we get out there, we don't even have to look for it. Just in the experience of being outside, we're infused with the beauty and the cosmic energy of what nature brings. And then if you want to take it a little bit further, if you want to take a walk or take a hike or take a swim or, get out in nature one way or another, that's when it really gets injected. It really becomes part of who we are. And what makes it so beautiful is it doesn't require any kind of intention. You don't have to keep your attentive to the world around you. Just seeing a squirrel, just seeing a deer, or just seeing the fauna, or just hearing or being with the river, or seeing the ocean, or seeing the mountains, or even just seeing the flowers, and even the front lawns of people can be considered nature. And in that process, we get to be regrounded into why we came into this world anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting that I haven't thought of it that way before, though. But there is, you do get enveloped by the time, the nature bathing, however you want to describe that. It kind of has its own force with you, which is super powerful. And even with inattentiveness or lack of direction on your own part, just being there can help to kind of siphon out the over mental nature that we kind of get ground into. So I like what you're talking about with that, Dr. Fred.
Yeah, thank you.
So as it's interesting that you say gardening. I don't often think of that as creativity, but obviously you're creating space for life, which is creation. Yeah, and sometimes even maybe just starting out, everybody can write in a journal, right? I mean, that is a very straightforward way to get started. What other kind of building blocks of creativity do you recommend for people?
Yeah, so you're right, and what the Creative Aid actually offers is go ahead and do any of these things. I choose say do 3 of these things for 1 minute at a time each day. So even just pick up a pencil and do a sketch and do that for 1 minute, or maybe you pick up a pencil again and have that be your musical drumstick and tap it on the side of the table, or maybe play the harmonica, or maybe tap a spoon on a glass, or that would be music as well. Or dancing. In dancing, maybe you don't want to be seen while you're dancing. Okay, go into your room and dance to no music, or dance like nobody's watching. That's the same kind of thing. And art, music, dancing, and then singing is the same way. You might want to sing to a song or sing just on your own and improvise. But here's the thing. Once we get those, the reason I say 1 minute is enough is we open up the avenue then for another way to look at this data called the world as it occurs to us. And when we do that, when we start doing some of the visual or performing arts, it releases us from the discomfort that preceded us doing it. And on the end of that, that means that after a minute, we now have a choice to go back to the discomfort we had before that we started being creative, or we can call ourselves released from that discomfort and head out in any number of directions, reducing, diminishing, or maybe even disappearing the discomfort that preceded the act. So what I let people know is that that's only one component of the Moss method, but it's a really important piece. And it's the piece that says, I can still express myself and be heard and listen to other people through the activity of formal creativity. Why do people sing in the first place? Because it alters an alternative, overarching, different way of getting my point across. I say whatever I say inside of my painting or inside of my drawing, or I say whatever I say inside of my song or inside of my dance. I say whatever I say inside of the music that I'm playing, or the gardening, or the cooking, or the writing, etc. I say what I say, or I can then receive what other people are saying in that same genre. And in that interchange, there's some healing that takes place that reminds us that we are just part of the divine whole.
Yeah, it really is triggering me to think. Number one, I'm seeing some self-efficacy. Right, I've made a decision. I've created this thing. I can point to it. Also, if I dig into the discipline, then I can see there's other people who are like me that have had similar ideas or enjoy similar things, and so I feel part of a community. And then it changes my vibrational state from being locked up in my emotional body into a higher vibration, which is bringing something forward for the world to see. So that's a super powerful activity. And I love that it's only for 1 minute. I think that's something that people can be triggered by, and then, like you're saying, they have the option to extend it to the next minute if that's what they want to do, right?
If that's what they want to do, exactly. And they can at least release themselves from the so-called emotional pain that they had before they got started.
Yeah, yeah,
that's right.
I love the Moss method. I like that. I like that you have list of activities also that people could choose from, so they're able to
reading and writing. Reading real books. Writing is really an important one of the Moss methods. Sleep hygiene, pampering ourselves, treating ourselves like the VIP king, royalty that we really are, and watching what we eat and drink, and watching what we take in with our eyes, and then being involved with authentic conversations. And this meditation and gratitude are really critical benchmarks or monumental centers to the Moss method. Finding ourselves sitting still and silent gives us an opportunity to see that we are not our feelings, we are not our emotions, we are not our thoughts, we are not our sensations, we are us having those experiences. And those things are simply filters that present themselves for us as to how we see the world through. What we look through in order to see the world is the filters of our mood, of our sensations, of our feelings. And because of that, we have an opportunity to switch out those filters. And that's what I'm talking about. When we see ourselves as somebody who's actually creating something, there's a sense of gratitude. There's a sense of wholeness that gets generated in that moment when I actually put together something that now can be used or now expresses what it was that I was trying to say. There's a real sense of comfort, or what should I say, like a confirmation of who I am in the world as a creative soul.
Almost to the point of even being seen, right? I think a lot of people really battle that, where they don't feel like they're important to anybody or anything. And these small creative acts allow us to be seen for the way we interpret the world, which is right.
Exactly. And then when you toss in the aspect of nature that you talk about on your podcast, we get to see how the world is so incredibly, beautifully creative as a way of being, that all of our experiences, I don't mean to bring up a squirrel a second time in this, this conversation, but yesterday I took this nature walk down this path that we love. And there was this squirrel just kind of leaping from tree to tree and then taking the ground route every so often. And, just a busy squirrel, so much fun. And it just reminded me so much of this notion of peace and freedom, which are big terms. We don't talk about that much human to human until you start seeing something like a squirrel who's living a life based in its own sense of freedom, like just going and chasing nuts or going and jumping from tree to tree or whatever they're doing. They seem to be pretty steady and not affected by all the chaos and all the disarrays and all the calamities going on that we think are going on in the world. They're not like, I don't know. They're not at war with each other. They're not, they're not conjuring up concerns about the climate. They're not conjuring up concerns about racism. They're not conjuring up concerns about trafficking.
There's not existential squirrels.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Well, I love the work that you're doing. I appreciate your contribution to people in our culture. How do people get in touch with you if they want to participate in some of the work that you're doing?
Well, I'm doing some really cool work these days in a couple different areas. I would say the cleanest place to still look for me is at my main sort of hub website called drfred360.com, drfred360.com. My main website that's been around a longer time that this often points to is welcometohumanity.net. And so those are the two places you can find me on website. The couple other things that I'm doing is I'm creating a school network for communities. So I'm working hard to put something together for like-minded individuals who are looking to find a way to deal with the chaos in the world that we have in front of us, because so many of us by default are finding ourselves either tripping or drowning or skidding, without a foothold and not knowing what directions we go. And with a community, I think we can gain some further insights into that direction, and also undoctoring people. So the idea of undoctoring is it really takes advantage of this whole idea that maybe there's nothing wrong with you at all. And it's really possible, as Krishnamurti said, to understand that it is no sign of mental health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And that's really true. It's okay to be upset. It's okay. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's okay to be uncomfortable. That's okay. That's part of life. So those are the kind of things I'd like to take on. And if that's interesting to people, I can set up a free conversation to see if any of my either coaching efforts or maybe referrals to other people or groups that I'm offering might work to help people feel like they in fact are in a community and they in fact are okay and can learn ways to help other folks as well.
That as well. I think we need to spend more time with and I like what you said, where you don't have to be healthy or you don't have to have something wrong with you to be alive, and you don't have to necessarily have any other reason to create except for that you are alive. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I appreciate that
today, and I'll make sure that all those links are in the show notes, and we'll help to get the word out for you.
All right. Beautiful. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. So some great takeaways today from spending some time in activities that are creative. It's even just for 1 minute can help to change your mood, and getting outside in nature can create for you to get outside of your head and see something amazingly beautiful in your local area, and then taking some time each day to create something. Like you are behind me, and the children's books, those things help me stay connected into bigger communities and provide an opportunity to it's outside of my own hope. You have found value, Fred. I hope you take advantage and some time to take a look at his material around the Creative 8. And I also hope that you take some time and get fed by the world out. Emmanuel Rose, Nature.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Nature Bound. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to purchase your copy of The 7 Principles of the Magic Rock at emmanuelrose.com or on Amazon. We thank you again for joining us today, and remember to get nature bound.